And the second match we watched was McManus taking on superstar Mal Sanders. This happens a few years later. This was undated, but it's post-1976. I know that because it takes place in the Elmbridge Leisure Centre in Walton-on-Thames.
Right, so did that open at that time for business?
Yes,
Right,
it did,
okay.
yes. And we get to see one of the architects of what was then a very unpopular decision to open up £1 million leisure centre in the midst of sort of like the 4-day week, who was the then Conservative councillor Dennis Cockshott,
Yes.
who appears in the audience in the front row, now the mayor
Wearing
of
his
Elmbridge.
bits and bobs,
Wearing his bits and
He's-
bobs. I had a quick look at him doing the actual opening of Elmbridge, and he was like, there was so much criticism about it. He said, but then
I read that one as
everybody
well.
started turning up, and everyone went quiet. Oh, all right, Dennis. This is superstar Mal Sanders. He's an interesting one, really. He was a very young star who was really, really capable. Better body than most people at this time as well in British wrestling.
He had back muscles.
He did, and he never, ever, I don't know, he just never quite clicked in the way that other performers who were getting pushed at this time did.
He looked too much like Dennis Waterman.
He did. Very Dennis Waterman-y. Originally from Morden in Surrey. He had a career that lasted from 1977 until 2017.
Whoa,
So
what the hell was he doing
He
in
retired when he
2017?
was 59. Incredibly, what he was doing was he was riding the sort of wave of the resurgence of British wrestling in this country.
Imagine doing that. Gross.
It took place in the late 90s and 2000s. He would end up having matches for the FWA, for Real Quality Wrestling, and IPW UK, who were all part of the 2000s boom in British wrestling.
Because I guess over here, you wouldn't have these kind of legends still doing what they're doing, because they were old men when they were doing it.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're talking about an 80-year-old man trying to wrestle.
Well, what was interesting is a lot of the matches that he did during that period, they would be legends matches. There was a sense of people rediscovering British wrestling. And a lot of the time it was because these guys were around training the next generation.
Yes, okay.
And so Mal Sanders used to come onto cards and have 7-minute matches against people like Steve Gray and Brian Goldbelt Maxine, who was still going at that point and did look like an old lady. I remember thinking he was really good. And he does seem to have just been good all of his life. He's now 65. He's still going strong. If you do Google him, there's some photos of him towards the end of his career with his top off. He looks. Sometimes that muscle can go everywhere, can't it? And it's gone everywhere. He's in much better shape than I am.
Yeah.
I'll make that clear, even when he was 59 years old. This match takes place in a really sort of strange environment. It's in a very, very clean, very square ring with no features on it. And it looks really like a bootleg toy that's been scaled up. They've also got loads of space between the front row, and they're sort of marked out on the floor. And it has a look of sort of being a weird big Japanese venue.
You don't see that. You never see that over here. And it's such a good idea because it actually, like, it looks like a respectful Japanese. A lot of area for people to stand up in.
This is
run
why
towards the wing.
Elmbridge needed £1 million leisure centre in 76.
They needed more room.
You
You're
can
right.
see it there, and you go, God, why don't we have more places like that? Absolutely great. It's still going as well, Elmbridge Leisure Centre. I want to make that clear in case anyone was panicking that money had been wasted by Dennis Cockshott.
The legacy of Dennis. Is it Dennis J.B. Cockshott?
Yes.
Cockshott MBE. Money wasn't wasted.
No.
So, he got the last laugh.
I'm sure he's no longer alive. But Dennis, if you are out there, thanks, mate. This match, McManus has got older, isn't he? He's getting what I would describe as Danny DeVito shaped. He's a lot of what was up has now sort of gone down to the point that he's actually got a 6-pack in this, but it's caused by slippage.
It's like when an earthquake happens and bits and possessions slide to one side of a building.
Oh, I've got some of the softest abs you've ever touched. Oh, they are. It's like a waterbed.
Yeah, because, men who wrestle at this age, they all look like they're constantly trying to suck it in over the top. And there's an ice shelf where the ribs it's just,
McManus is definitely coming up to 60 here.
Yeah.
And that is, just the fact he can still go with Mal Sanders is, again, a really remarkable thing. Again, what you have with McManus is a generation where I suppose this was a profession. And they were, to some degree, professional men who simply went out there and did their job, and then they went home.
Yeah.
Do you know what McManus did probably every night? He sat down, he probably had a cup of tea out of a nice china cup. And porcelain. Porcelain.
He loves porcelain.
We'll get to the porcelain. He'll have had that, and he will have said to his wife, he'll have gone, sure, absolutely lovely, that's smashing.
Not even talk about his day.
No.
I was like, yeah, fine day.
No,
yeah.
he'd look at the telly, she'd go, I've got 2 new doilies, and he'd go, they're lovely. Wouldn't even look round. Absolutely lovely. He said, I love it when you treat yourself. Cup of tea, bed. Good night. Lovely. That is the key to longevity.
A big book he's got from the library with his reading glasses.
Yeah.
And next to a big goblin tea's made.
Yeah. It's a historical fiction set in the Trojan War. You know? Is it good, Mick? Oh, there's a lot of battles. Oh, you like battles? I do, Shirl.
No.
Right.
That's your finger in. Oh, Mick. You destroyed our lovely tableau of you.
I'm a vampire pensioner. I know you are, Mick. I know.
I forgot. I'm going to neglect to say that I feast on human blood.
And I take the blacks out the pupils of their eyes, and I keep my hair lovely and lustrous with it.
Mick, I don't think I'll mention this, but you have made the fucking bath a right fucking mess, and you have throughout our entire marriage. You fucking die.
What's a fucking bath for? If not for storing my blood in, shitting.
I'm a shit vampire. I ain't shit.
Hi, this is Mick McManus' nephew. Had been enjoying the video.
I'd just like to state, for the record, that my granddad did not eat human shit. Thanks.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, dear.
2. Couple of counts of 2, but he can't hold him down for the 3rd.
Come on, Colin, get out here! Come on! Come on, you can't make
McManus furious that the referee not counting fast enough, but he's counting in seconds perfectly correctly.
This match is great fun. It's great. McManus had obviously sort of seen the changing of the guard, and he did start dropping his belt to young up-and-comers. Right. That was the great part of his story. When he lost to the young people would be over the moon.
Yeah.
McManus had got his comeuppance, and to be someone who had a victory over Mick McManus was a rare thing indeed. Mal Sanders was 18 when he went and beat McManus for the belt in what was said to be McManus's only television loss.
Right.
So an amazing achievement. It's sort of amazing that Mal Sanders didn't really sort of have that rocket. Yeah, that by the time Dynamite Kid and Rocco rolled around in the early 80s, but they're there from 77, but the fact that he's not in that mix is seems like a missed opportunity.
They were good though, weren't they?
They really
they were better than everybody.
They were better than everybody. This is, McManus gets the first pinfall and he just sort of grabs him and squishes him up. It's really unimpressive. It's unimpressive as a move, and it's unimpressive that Mal Sanders lost to it. He just sort of goes, I'm going to pin you now. And he does. Some great bumps. There's a good bit where he's holding onto the ropes and Mal Sanders kicks his leg out for him.
Yeah.
And McManus just goes, I'm literally going to turn myself upside down. And it's great fun. They grab the ears, of course they do. Yeah. Would it be a Mick McManus match if the ear grab didn't happen? Probably not. And, it's fine. It's not electric, this one. He sort of bashes into Sanders as one of the rounds starts and knocks him out. And then he sort of goes, right, next time I want a title match. And I did sort of look at that and go, oh, is this not a title match? Thought it was going to be. That's disappointing.
So a knockout win then for McManus, right at the start of round 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the supreme winner, Mick McManus.
I mean, what's the overall sensation you're left with?
I don't know. Just it must be quite nice in a game like that to have someone such a reassuring presence as a wrestling show goer.
Yeah.
Just to sort of go, well, look, if he's on the bill, but it's a bit of a Nintendo seal of quality, really, isn't it?
It is. It is. I think it's a shame that I think his best work has been lost, and that is. It's like someone going, there was a great artist, but you can only see the paintings he did after he was 54. And you would be a bit like, oh, right, okay, so he did the other stuff he did, it revolutionised art entirely.
This is derivative on
this is
himself,
a picture
really,
of a little dog.
He got a little dog.
Look, it's perfectly good.
He found a new love, and she perverted his vision.
Yeah. Well, we're not saying that happened to McManus.
No.
Meet a girl, and she started saying Wrestle lazy. Didn't happen. What was part of McManus's afterlife, if you like, was he was as visible, really, when he sort of retired. He was really interesting insofar as his persona off-screen was entirely different from the persona he had on-screen.
Yeah.
He was not just friendly and warm and polite and professional. He was also, I think he craved respectability. A lot of people of that generation...
A lot of wrestlers do, though, don't they?
Yeah, and a lot of people who came from working-class backgrounds. You know, what you were seeing there was you were seeing entertainment circles were populated for the first time by people from working-class backgrounds.
Yeah.
Mick McManus, there are photos of him with the Beatles. There are photos of him with the Stones. The Stones weren't from a working-class background. They'd have loved to have been, wouldn't they? Oh, Hackney Diamond. You know, grow up. You're so old, it's pathetic. Clout chasers.
Stop having a go at the Rolling Stones' latest album.
They'll be dead by the time this comes out. I feel so bad. I think that there was a sense with Mick McManus that because he was also the booker and a headliner for so long, he did make a lot of money. And I think back then, money did make you respectable. That was, you know, the social mobility that had never existed before in this country. And what you get is he writes a regular wrestling column in The Sun for years and years. He ends up doing lots of variety shows. He performs on stage with Tommy Cooper in sketches, Rod Hull, an emu. You know, once you're in that level, you're just sort of like, he's a proper television entertainment star. He also released a single, you'll be pleased to hear.
Oh, good Lord.
In 1972, he joined a load of other sort of main event TV wrestlers.
Right.
And they called themselves the Gladiators. And they released a single called When We All Go in the Ring, which was to the tune...
But when the says go marching in?
Yeah. Oh, when we all go in the ring. When we all go in the ring. And what's funny about that as well is they're just like, what can they manage? What can they manage?
A chant. It's a chant.
Yeah, you do a chant. That's it. I've got a copy of that somewhere. I don't think I've listened to it. Not sure I'm going to.
When we all go in the ring, or when we all go in the ring, we do our best to entertain you. When we all go in the ring.
He also, I mean, he did a lot of cash-ins as well. So in old wrestling magazines, there are quite often adverts for some weird newfangled piece of rubbish that he's stuck his face on. That it would be, you know, a chest expander that's basically...
all that stuff,
Mick's been given a sack of, like, components from someone who was clearing out a factory, and he's looked at it and gone,
together.
Well, can you twist that? You twist it good for your arms?
Yeah.
And it becomes the Mick McManus patented bicep developer.
Yeah, because he was the body, wasn't he? He really was.
Oh, yeah.
The body. And he also, I think he did a lot of, like, vitamin pills.
He did,
stuff.
yeah. The McManus Preparation 30.
Preparation
is...
Too close to Preparation H.
Too close.
Too
you
close.
Cannot go for preparation if it's something that goes in your mouth.
I think people used to rub it on their abs.
Well, yeah.
To tighten the skin.
Or, you can rub it on your face because it does tighten the skin. So
right.
It's like a little facelift. Yeah, a little facelift. I mean, you know, people always have that thing as well where you go, oh, but it's... I don't do it myself. Sound like... I mean, look at me. But people are always like that sort of thing. I want to put that on my face. It's just fucking cream.
Yeah,
I know it's supposed to end up on your bum.
Yeah, I mean, you have the choice to buy a new
bums first. Not
come out
pre-bummed.
It's not like a dirty factory to go, sorry, it's going to go on bums.
Yeah.
So it can be as dirty. Asbestos in the walls? Yeah. Yes, fine. It's going to go on bums.
None of you need to wear pants. Just skin about on the stuff. Try and get as much as you can in the pot.
But I think the highlights was on a couple of occasions at the Albert Hall when I wrestled in the presence of His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh. I met Princess Anne and met quite a few of the royal family, quite a few politicians, and managed to get invited to 10 Downing Street. Don't you know that you had to do that, you see, when he was as popular as I was.
I think he had that real sort of sense of I am a sports star.
Yeah.
Lots of the books that came out about British wrestling as well, he'd either do the foreword or he'd be billed as a co-writer and things like that. And partly I think that's because everything had to go through the joint office, so he's very much like, oh, well, you know, you're going to have to obviously...
Stick that on me,
Yeah, you know, grease the wheel, aren't you?
Preparation on the H.
So when he retires in 82, he served then as a technical advisor to London Weekend Television. It was like an ambassador role, isn't it, really? They keep him on board. Yeah. But when wrestling's taken off air in 88, he leaves with them. He would work in a PR role for a wiring manufacturer.
Again, his ideas was just put me on the box.
It is.
Of wires.
It is. I like the idea you need PR as well. It's just like, oh, there's a lot of bad stories about our wiring,
wires,
Mick.
Yeah.
You know, it's sharp.
The rats keep eating the protection.
And it makes them into super rats. What year is this? 89? Yeah, have you heard of Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles? It's like that, but with
wire
fucking
munching
rats.
tortoises. The wire munching sewer tortoises.
Don't say no more. I'm happy to have my face put on the front. Great, nice one, Mick. You know,
I'll reveal to the country that my hair was actually wires.
He also went into that lovely sort of twilight that a lot of entertainers did in the 70s and 80s. He would host corporate events. He would do after dinner speaking. He would do lots of charity work, and he played on the Pro-Am golf circuit as well.
Nice, okay.
And this is really the point where McManus...
Tarbuck.
Yeah.
Tarbuck off the tee.
Corbett. Forsyth. You know. Kenny Lynch.
If Corbett did it, he could put the puppets on the tops of the heads of his clubs.
Ron Corbett. Two Ronnie's Corbett.
Oh, sorry.
Not Harry Corbett. I'd never play around with that fucking Harry Corbett. with that fucking loudmouth sweep who hangs around him.
I was going to say that, but you're right, Corbett would.
Corbett.
Yeah.
I imagine the fucking after dinnery type of, you know, I wouldn't say that was a bad shot, but somewhere in a bunker, Hitler's laughing, you know, whatever it would be, you know, just. What do you fucking say? You know,
just men sweating.
Settle down,
sweating
Mick.
after the big roast.
Roddy was only
dinner.
having a laugh. I'll fucking burn his butt. All right, calm down.
You can't
everyone.
see anything. You can't see the fucking smoke.
He also bought a pub because he's king of wrestlers.
Yeah,
he had to. He bought the Royal Hotel in Guildford, which unfortunately closed as a pub in 2009. Now a Chinese restaurant. Very much a feel that this country is trying to erase all of Mick McManus's things.
Knock it down.
Yeah. In 2002, he also appeared as a character in the Legends of Wrestling 2 video game on the PS2.
That is a
Xbox.
Weird bit of work.
And Game Boy Advance. Mick McManus was on the Game Boy Advance, Pete. Still alive at this point as well.
Yeah.
Still lived to see himself on the Game Boy Advance.
I'm going to get the old ROM off that. Have a fiddle around with
You
Mick
will be
McManus.
able to match him up against Sid Vicious.
Finally.
The Nasty Boys. Stick him in a ladder match with Sabu. You can do it.
Yes.
But most of the rest of Mick McManus's life was dedicated to his interest, his love of antiques. He became an authority on porcelain.
An authority on porcelain.
Possibly self-described, isn't it?
That sounds very
It's very much like the TV Times once would have said, where are they now? And he'd have gone, where he's become quite the authority on porcelain. And then Mick McManus next time has gone, the TV Times have dubbed me the authority on porcelain. And then the next journalist just writes it down. He, by all accounts, just a very, very happy guy. And he ends up, having got onto that sort of entertainment circuit, he ends up dying at the age of 93 in 2013, Pete. He dies at the age of 93 at the home for retired variety artists, Brinsworth House, which is in South London. It's where Mike Yarwood would end up passing away a couple of months back. It was full of old entertainers. And Mick McManus had really sort of transferred himself from the Biff game, from the world of grapple and grunt, into being that ITV early Saturday afternoon entertainer.
Yeah.
He was a good friend of Lord Attenborough as well. Dickie Attenborough.
Yeah, he sort of visited him a few times, didn't he?
Dickie Attenborough was one of the patrons of Brinsworth House.
Right.
A lot of money was raised for them by other variety acts, things like the Royal Variety Show. That would raise money for Brinsworth House. And Dickie Attenborough spent a lot of time hanging out with Mick McManus. I met Dickie Attenborough a couple of times, and the first time I met him, he came over and he went, "How are you, dear boy? Are you, it's so wonderful to see you." And I said, "Oh, thank you, very nice to meet you." And he went, "Oh," he said, "wonderful. Good to see you again. Good to see you again." I thought, we met before. I saw him again about a year later, and he came over and he went, dear boy, how are you? Wonderful to see you again. And he obviously had that thing of, he was famous for so long, Dickie Attenborough, that anyone who we saw, he'd just sort of not take the chance of upsetting them. So he'd just go, great to see you again.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
But that would be his opening line. He was just like, I'll go straight in there. He was absolutely charming and delightful. And I wanted to give him a hug. Like a big hug.
Very hugger. Even,
really
all those people he murdered on that island. Even
and
so, you would give him a big
Brian
hug.
Rock, slashing everyone. I rang him up. I said, I met you earlier. I said, don't think I've forgotten. Don't think I've forgotten.
I've seen you. I've seen what you've been up to.
For a fucking second, Attenborough. You slashing all them kids out in Brighton, mate. I remember. His funeral in Woking was a great big gathering of all of the wrestlers from the golden era. Died at the age of 93. As I say, 2013. That meant that he lived long enough to hear Daft Punk's Get Lucky and Royals by Lord.
Oh, nice.
So that was
so
good. The Mirror covered his funeral, and all of the wrestlers, as soon as a photographer returned to them, would basically get each other in headlocks.
Yes, okay, that was very much a thing.
They want you to know they're old wrestlers. So there's very much a sort of picture of the hearse with Johnny Saint has got Steve Gray in a headlock by it, which just seemed inappropriate. But Wayne Bridges, who was the heavyweight champion during the 70s and 80s, said Mick McManus brought wrestling to the people. He was the golden era. And that's Mick McManus for you, eh? That's Mick McManus.
An authority on porcelain, a great haircut, and
hated Ronnie Corbett.
Hated Ronnie Corbett.
Good friend of Brighton slasher Dickie Attenborough. Hey, I mean, again, just what a life, eh?
Yeah.
What a life these blokes had. Like, superstar Mal Sanders is only 65. And I was thinking about this. I mean, look, in the old days, he probably got booked for 100 quid, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you'd say, can you get here at 4 o'clock? We're on at 6.
Yeah.
And then you can leave by probably about 7:30.
Yeah, that's £100.
Can we pay Mal Sanders 100 quid to sit here for 5.5 hours and we'll grill him? Just grill him for hours.
Our money's worth, yeah. Well, I'll edit out the bit where I talk about his physique earlier on and how it changed.
We're nothing if not cowards.
We couldn't take him.
Fine. Like he's 65. He's not going to access a podcast or a Patreon, work YouTube. Men over 65. If someone says, "Hey Mal, you're on the YouTube," he's, let me type it in. They'll go, no, don't worry, I'm not interested, because you know that men over 65, the only searches they make are women with big boobs.
Women with big boobs.
Yeah.
If it's my dad, it's the 4 guitar and bass playing musicians in the Robert Palmer Addicted to Love video, which for some reason I've caught him Googling like in the last year. Inexplicable, not a clue. These forgotten models that he was so enchanted by in the 80s that he would consistently Google on every iPad, mobile phone and computer in...
Don't worry about Mal Sanders. I want to pay 100 quid to get your dad in for 5.5 hours.
What is it about these weird models that enchant you so? It's bizarre.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm more than happy, by the way, for people to get back in touch after this one to just say, actually, you didn't, Mick McManus was fucking brilliant, and here's why. Because I've still not quite found the thing that's really...
that makes him...
clicks me for that.
Right, okay.
So I'm more than happy to hear from, as I say, Mick McManus' nephew.
Yeah,
to say,
or the porcelain
very
people.
Ignorant. Very
ignorant man.
How would you like it if someone talked about your uncle that way? Genuinely couldn't give a fuck.
I know. It's always that thing going, you could talk about Stewie Donaldson and his weird Google searches. I don't care.
My Uncle Eric's a hoarder.
See
you later, guys. Wrestle me, Pete.
My cousin's husband to try and get back with his missus. I don't know the logic.